live from the middle of a blizzard. We're going to get between 2 and 3 feet here today. I already got about a foot on the ground. It's going to go all day into the early evening. Anyway, before we start the video, please like the video if you like it. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Turn on the notifications, the bell, all that good stuff, please. So last night I was scrolling through the gram, and Chad Nichols, aka the Diet Doc, you probably know him as the coach of Big Ramy, former coach of Ronnie Coleman. He is also an NPC promoter. He puts on NPC shows in Missouri. So he shared some new information from the NPC, a new rule that was put out, I assume yesterday, stating that you have to be 18 years old to compete in the NPC now. And teenagers, if they want to compete in the teenage division, they must be 18 years old by the day of the show, and they cannot be 20 years old. Obviously, they wouldn't be a teenager anymore, but that makes sense. So I had to get some clarification from Chad, because when I first saw that, I thought maybe, well, they just don't want teenagers competing in the teen class under 18, but I want to make sure that that was across the board. They don't want 16, 15, 14, 17-year-olds, anyone under 18 competing in the NPC anymore. Of course, there's a lot of reaction to this. There's going to be more reactions, positive and negative. First, the negative, a lot of guys were saying, you know, I competed when I was 15 or 16. It was a great experience. We shouldn't take that away from people. Other people said, you know, if this is ostensibly because they're hoping to limit teenage drug use because drugs are used in competition, I don't think that's a secret. Especially, you know, more and more drugs are used in competition contest prep than they are in the off season. So if this can discourage some of them, but of course everyone came out and said these kids are going to use drugs anyway. You think that's going to stop them? Of course not. They're still going to be running all their SARMs and Tren and whatever. So there was a big backlash immediately, and there still will be. You know, they're pointing out great bodybuilders who competed before they were 18. In the thumbnail for this, I used, he will now go down, no doubt, as the greatest teenage bodybuilder of all time, because no one will be able to duplicate what Cody Montgomery did. Cody Montgomery won the teenage nationals at 17, 18, and 19 years old, 3 years in a row. So that can't be duplicated ever again now, because you have to be at least 18. So no one's going to be able to be 18 for 2 years in a row, or 19. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. Another aspect that I don't think a lot of people were thinking about, they were only thinking about the bodybuilding males as teenage competitors. This really was probably and I'm not speaking for the NPC. Believe me, trust me. Don't get this twisted. Don't go running to JM. I would ask you before I said anything, of course. But it's female competitors too, and it's not just because of a drug aspect. It's because there are now these divisions like bikini and wellness. You know, you have them up there in the little suits. Are you going to have a 13-year-old girl up there in wellness just because she might, you know, look 18 or 19? She has a big booty, but she's 13 years old, and you're going to have grown men up there, you know, obviously leering at her. You know, there's going to be guys in the audience thinking, boy, looking with lust. It's just male nature. So that's another aspect to look at it. I know there's a ton of comments coming in. A lot of you guys are probably in vehement disagreement with this new law, this new ruling. Another aspect that I want to mention real briefly is that I don't think people under 18 should be competing, most of them anyway, because they need more time to grow, and these are prime years to grow. And if you're spending, some of these kids do compete all the time, and if you're spending a lot of your time dieting, you're not growing. Dieting, especially if you're doing it drug-free, plummets your natural testosterone levels after a certain point. These are years you should be growing. And Martin Fitzwater, who's a great young bodybuilder, he tried to argue against this point in the thread in Chad's original Instagram post, saying, you know, you make your best gains after a show when you're depleted, and then you rebound and this and that. Yeah, but that's more a case when you've been doing it for a while, for years and years, and you've hit these plateaus. I don't think a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid should be hitting a plateau. They should still be making very steady progress in those teenage years into their early 20s. Then maybe they start stalling out. But these are the years when, geez, you should be making your best gains. You have natural testosterone levels through the roof, growth hormone levels through the roof. You don't have any injuries yet, hopefully. faster. These are great years to grow. Are we robbing people of the experience now of competing at, 17, 16, 15? And have there been great bodybuilders who started that young? Of course. But, you can't make everybody happy. I think this is the right decision for the greater good. And I guess now I'm going to have to see what you have to, I'm going to hear your arguments. I'm sure a lot of you are like, no, we got to let the 12-year-olds compete. They have to. It's important. Yeah. There have been people as young as 12 competing, I think. I know that I've seen 13-year-olds competing, which is ridiculous. Okay, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's run. Maybe they can only do natural shows, says Malcolm G92. Well, yeah, I believe if you're under 18, you should be natural. I don't care if you disagree with me. That's a very strong belief of mine. I don't think a 15, 16, 17-year-old has any business doing steroids or pro hormones or SARMs. No. At least until you're 18. I'll stick to my guns on that one. I don't care how strongly you want to argue and say, I'm 14 and I'm on 2 grams of tren and I feel fine. You're too young at that age to make rational decisions. You just are. That's why you can't drive a car yet. That's why you can't vote yet. That's why you can't buy cigarettes and alcohol yet. But you can buy tren from Joe Blow at the gym, I'm sure. Davenport Barbell, did you see Nick Walker left Matt Jansen? I don't know if that's actually true, just because Nick Trigilli made a video about it. He might have some inside information, but everyone was pointing out that Nick still has Matt tagged in all his pictures and this and that. So I've heard nothing from either Matt or Nick. Until I do, I'm not buying it. You're way off topic though, Scott. Come on now. Taylor Kent, a good topic. When I saw it, it makes sense. A small move in the correct direction, yeah. The argument that these kids are going to use steroids anyway, that's the same argument that a lot of people use about recreational drugs and taking them off the street. I'm not one of those people that thinks the war on drugs was a success or even a fantastic idea, but you can't just let everybody do everything with no limitations or laws just because they're going to do it anyway. I mean, you could extend that way into things like, well, people are going to kill each other anyway, just let them. I know that's ridiculous. I'm being facetious there. Prince Sports Cars. When I was 19, I was, of course, natural, but I planned on doing Team National, so, of course, gear was about to be introduced in my life. So glad I waited until 26 now, 100% off 28. Congrats. Yeah, I competed at 19. My first 2 shows, I was a teenager. It was a natural organization, and I was natural, A and BC. And there still are plenty of natural organizations around if somebody wants to compete in them as a person who's under 18. Let's see. I don't want to talk. We're not talking about Nick Walker now, guys. I know he's fascinating, and some of you think that's the only thing that's worth talking about, but come on now. Boston competed at 8 years old. Boston Lloyd was on stage with his dad, I think, at 8 years old. I think his dad brought him up on stage at a competition, but he wasn't competing. CC, when was your first cycle, Ron? When was the earliest one should take theirs? I did a whole 2-part series a couple weeks ago about when I went on drugs. It was, I was just turned 27. Please watch those 2 videos. I talk between the 2 videos, I'm sure it's like an hour and a half of content. I won't bore everyone here who watched that. But the earliest one should take theirs. I don't think anyone under 18 should be on steroids. And even at 18, a lot of people aren't ready for it. I think you should have a good base of size and strength naturally and really have a good grasp of training and nutrition. That way, when you add the drugs in, they're going to be a lot more effective because you know what you're doing. You're not just winging it, going to the gym and, effing around like, oh, that looks cool. Maybe I'll do that. Or, eating whenever you feel like it and whatever you feel like. You'll be a lot more regimented and disciplined. I agree with you entirely, Ron. I got a smart guy, says James Gary from Bayshore Athletic Club. James has the Mass Monsta, Monstah, because we're in Boston, Monsta. Our gym is closed today. Very wise choice, Bayshore Athletic Club. Nobody should be driving out there. It's ridiculous right now. I'm taking a break from shoveling. I do an hour, then take an hour off, and then go back. Yeah, 1 on, 1 off. Because it's going to take all damn day. This is going to take all day to shovel. My snowblower broke and I'm too stupid to know how to fix it. I agree with you, Charlie. Davenport Barbell says, yeah, I'm not a Trigilli fan. Runs 10,000 times better. 10,000 times is a very large margin. Nick is very good at what he does. He breaks a lot of stories. I'm limited. I can't talk about all the things he talks about because, you know, I have to deal with sponsors and organizations, federations, and things like that. I can't report on some of the things he can, you know, for better or worse. So he serves a purpose, and it's entertaining content. He produces his videos with very high quality. I mean, he's very successful in a short time with this, so that tells you he's doing something right. Prince Sports Cars, you rock, Ron. I know, right? Met you at the 2020 Olympia in the hotel. Keep on doing. Thank you. Jazza27, thank you, Ron, for listening to your followers. We all love and respect you. I'm an amateur competing class physique. We'll make it to your channel one day. Okay. Clickbaiting for views. Scott, when am I going to start hardcore clickbaiting? I can't. If I have a clickbait title and it ends up being deceptive, I feel so guilty. I'm like, like if I have a video saying Nick Walker tears his bicep, and he didn't tear his bicep, I'd feel like an asshole. I'm not saying Nick does anything that extreme, but he has had videos where the title does not correlate to what's in the video, and what you were expecting is not at all what you got. And I just feel bad. I feel an obligation to, you know, none of us are real. We can argue, but Nick said this. We're not journalists. I didn't go to journalism school. We're not covering wars, presidential elections, political scandal. We're just covering freaking bodybuilding. Let's see, Malcolm. TMZ of BB. Get a life. Nice. Wow, that's all the questions, you guys? I'm surprised. Well, so my wife's getting out of work early. She's at Costco, and they wisely, I think they're shutting down the building. This is like one of those storm of the century situations. We're going to get at least 2 feet of snow today, possibly close to 3, which it's nothing new. We usually get one storm like that every winter. There have been some winters. I remember a few years back, we got one of those like every weekend for a month in a row, and we ended up setting all kinds of snowfall total records for the month of February. I think we got like 10 feet of snow in Boston, the surrounding areas in 4 weeks. It was crazy. 10 feet total, not all at once. This isn't Siberia. Anything else? Wow, that was it, guys. So I guess, you know, if I'm missing the stuff in the live chat, leave some comments here in the comment section. I definitely respond to all those. I look at them. I think this is an important topic. What do we got, Nick? CCCV, after many years natty, I decided to turn to the dark side. That's what I call it too. 1 year in and the gains have been incredible. How long can I expect impressive gains? Most people with gear, you'll see impressive gains for the first 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. After that, they taper off. I mean, obviously, if you're putting on 20 pounds a year or something like that, you can't keep doing that every year, or you'd weigh 400 or 500 pounds ripped, right? So 2 or 3 years, generally speaking, for most people. I know in my case, most of the gains I made from gear, I made in the first couple years. And after that, I still made gains incrementally, but they weren't like that ever again. It's like anything else. It's like training. If you train hard, you know what you're doing. Your newbie gains, your first couple years, that's when you make your best gains. A lot of times then when you figure certain things out, like your nutrition, your gains go up again another level. But you know what I'm saying? It's all adaptation. Your body adapts to everything eventually. So when it's a new stress, it shocks the system, and your body has to really struggle and fight to adapt. And that's where you get these great gains in muscle mass. It's too bad it's not like that forever. But like, again, we'd all be walking around at 1,000 pounds ripped. What's that? Oh, is that my shirt? Jeez. I think that's a feather from the from the coat. I've been using it to shovel. It's one of those goose down, real warm one. Nick Bradbury, not many questions, as we all agree this is probably the right thing to do. There are plenty of local shows you can do before the NPC. Well, the NPC has local shows, but someone made a point. Natural shows, you could still compete as a teen under 18, I'm sure, in natural organizations. And that's good because the NPC, nobody encourages drug use. No organization says, you guys come on and use drugs. But if you're a competitor, even a teenager, and you see somebody winning teenage shows, it's clear that they're on gear. You're saying, well, shit, if I want to win, I guess I got to get on gear too. Or maybe you were going to anyway. But, this will at least slow down the process. You might not use it until you're 18, or you might not use as much. You certainly won't be using a contest prep stack. Those are the most extensive and toxic stacks. That's when you have your freaking Halotestin, your Masteron, your Tren, T3, Clen. Some people are into DNP. It's a lot more drugs and it's a lot more harsher drugs. And aromatase inhibitors. Yeah, contest prep stacks are way worse than off-season stacks. So if this keeps some teenagers from using those stacks, it's not a bad thing in my mind. Let's see. Davenport Barbell, my buddy Scott. I think teens competing in bodybuilding is better than anyone competing in men's physique. LOL. I have some friends that are men's physique. I'm not going to rag on it too much, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the division because they wear the shorts and they're hiding their legs. Not their choice. Malcolm, G92, 30 next month, still competing naturally. What you think? Take the plunge or stay natural? Oh, I can't make that decision for you, but it's up to you. If you're happy and you enjoy being healthy, stay natural. My goodness. I mean, you've already made it this far. And you can always take pride in knowing everything you built was on your own, no chemical assistance. Nobody can talk shit about you. Because once you do drugs, everyone's going to say, well, you look the way you do because of drugs. It doesn't matter if you trained for 20 years before drugs, competed naturally for years and years. They don't care. As soon as they find out you're using drugs or you have used drugs, everything, 100% of the physique they see, they're going to attribute to steroids, we say, or PEDs. Let's be a little more comprehensive. So, unless you have a burning desire to see what your physique would look like, bigger, freakier, it's going to be the same physique. It's just going to be bigger. You're not going to magically have peaked biceps where you didn't have them before, a better V, there's this great structure. It's going to be the same physique, just bigger. So that's a personal decision. Big Lenny once said in his video his goal is 700 pounds ripped. LOL, the truth. I've seen some 700-pound people on that show, My 600-Pound Life. They're certainly not ripped. They had a guy on who was 800 pounds, this big black dude. And he was still walking, which really amazed me. Looks like my wife is home. All right, guys, I'm going to go. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Peace out.